Welcome to Sleepless History. NBA stars versus Smartgilas, or Smartgilas, the Philippine national team went toe-to-toe with some of the NBA superstars and held their own even in defeat. With the NBA lockout, some players went overseas to play against the PBA team and to give the people across the sea a closer look at their prowess. The crowd was over 20,000 strong and eager to see what the NBA stars had to display, with the players and coaches on the other and weren't there to be awed. National coach Rico Torreman, everyone saw today that our team has good potential. We didn't respect them on the floor. We showed our respect for them after the game, said Kobe Philippine team. Play with the same passion I have for the game, said Bryant. This team got a lot of talent, and they can beat us as a team. NBA players scored 131, Mickey 25, Durant 22, Williams 19, Evans 17, Harden 16, Bryant 12, Paul 11, Rose 9, Fisher 0. PBA selection 105, Santos 25, Fingers 9, David 8, Mercado 8, Noro 7, Reyes 6, Caglio 4, Dos 4, Sable 4, Montal 4, Financier 3, Tenorio 2, Yapke 0. The quarter scores 30-26, 66-50, 100-178, 131-105. Second meetings. The NBA players scored 98, Bryant 17, Mickey 16, Dev 16, Harden 15, Evans 9, Williams 8, Rose 6, Paul 6, Fisher 5. The Smartgilas team 89, Casio 16, Doubtfit 14, Russ 12, Huntingverse 11, Lassiter 9, T8, Aguilar 6, Babao 4, Williams 4, Alapak 3, Baroka 0, Tolliver 0, Bias Darrow 0. The quarter scores 28-16, 55-37, 79-60, 98-89. Philippines basketball history. The Philippines first participated in international basketball in the Far Eastern Championship Games in 1913. The Philippines defeated China in what was the first international game in Asia. The Philippines won all but one 1921 championship until 1934. The games were not under the supervision of FIBA, as the organization was founded in 1932. The Basketball Association of the Philippines, BAP, was founded in 1936 and became a part of FIBA later that year. Also in the same year, the BAP sent a team nicknamed the Islanders that participated in the first Olympic basketball tournament in Berlin. With the tournament under a single elimination round format from the third game onwards, the Philippines won their first 3 games only to face the United States in their 4th game. The USA doubled the Philippines' score as they advanced to the next round and subsequently won the gold medal undefeated. The Philippines wound up 5th place, winning the rest of their games in the best finish by a men's Asian team in Olympic basketball history. Aside from silver medalist Canada, the Philippines was the only other team that only had 1 loss in the tournament. The Philippines returned to the 1948 Olympics in London. The team finished 4th of 6 teams in their group to be eliminated. The team wound up in 12th place. In the 1950s-1960s, the Philippines was among the best in the world, producing world-class players like Carlos Loizaga, Lauro Mueller, Mariano Tolentino, Francisco Rabat, and Edgardo Ocampo. In 1951, team won the inaugural Asian Games basketball tournament in New Delhi, India. The team finished ahead of Japan and for the teams to win the gold medal on the next Asian Games in 1954 in Manila that served as the qualifiers for the World Championship later that year. The team finished first anew, beating out the Republic of China, Taiwan, Japan, and South Korea in the final round. In the 1954 FIBA World Championship in Brazil, Loizaga was a part of the mythical team selection, where the Philippines won the bronze medal. The Philippines finished 2nd in their group behind Brazil and ahead of Paraguay to enter the final round, where the team lost against the U.S. by only 13 points. Only the loss against the U.S. and 2 losses against Brazil were the Philippines' only losses in the World Championship. To date, the Philippines' performance remains the best performance by an Asian team in the World Championship. In the 1956 Olympics, the Philippines finished 7th. The team qualified to the quarterfinals with only loss against the USA. However, the team lost all of their games against France, Uruguay, and Chile in the quarterfinals. The Philippines defeated Chile in the 7th place game to finish with a 4-far record. 2 years later, in the 1958 Asian Games in Tokyo, the Philippines won its 3rd consecutive gold medal, finishing 1st in the final round. The Philippines was grouped with Bulgaria, Puerto Rico, and Uruguay in the 1959 FIBA World Championship. The team finished 3rd, losing against Bulgaria and Puerto Rico to crash out of the final round. The Philippines won all of the games in the classification round against the United Arab Republic, Egypt, and Canada to meet Uruguay for the 8th place game. The team defeated Uruguay again to finish 8th. This would be the last tournament of Loizac and company. Starting in 1960, the Asian Basketball Championship was held to determine Asia's participants in the Olympics and the World Championships. Qualifying for the Asian Championship was by subzone or by the ranking in the most recent tournament in this case, with the Philippines being the strongest team in Southeast Asia. The country will qualify easily for the Continental Championship, even if they fail to qualify via rankings from the previous tournament. The inaugural Asian Championship was held in Manila. With an Asian Championship, the Philippines qualified for the 1960 Olympics. In Rome, the Philippines did not qualify for the medal round, but did beat Spain in the preliminaries, ultimately finishing 11th out of 16 nations. The country was supposed to host the 1963 World Championship, but President Diosdado Macapagal refused to allow players from Yugoslavia and other communist countries to enter the country. This caused the Philippines, despite winning the Asian Championships, to qualify via a pre-Olympic tournament, in which they were unsuccessful. 2. In the 5th championship at Bangkok, the Philippines finished 3rd after a 1-point loss against Japan, and an 86-95 loss against South Korea in 1975, after disputes with the Basketball Association of the Philippines, BAP. 9 teams pulled out of BAP's jurisdiction and founded the Professional Philippine Basketball Association, PBA, taking along all the best players with them. This caused the BAP to send weakened teams in the subsequent international tournaments, as professionals are not allowed to play. The Filipinos failed to defend their Asian Championship in 1975, with India earning a shock blowout win to deny the Philippines a top 4 finish. The Chinese won the championship, beginning their unbeaten championship run that will last into 1983. The Nationals were denied of a top 4 finish in the 1977 Asian Championship, losing this time to Malaysia. The Philippines then hosted the 1978 FIBA World Championship, losing all of the games via blowouts to finish last in the final round to offset the loss of players of the PBA. The BAP delegated to businessman Eduardo Coelho Jr. the formation of a team that will train together for several months, in essence a club team unaffiliated with any league. The result was the Northern Cement basketball team coached by the American Ron Jacobs that had 4 naturalized players. In the 1982 Asian Games in New Delhi, the team finished 4th behind Korea, China, and Japan. In the 1983 Asian Championship in Hong Kong, the Philippines forfeited their preliminary round games after a misunderstanding in the rules that caused the Philippines to play more than 1 naturalized player on the floor at the time. The Philippines, without their naturalized players, made short work of the classification round to finish in 9th place. The Northern Cement team won the 1985 Asian Championship in Kuala Lumpur to qualify for the 1986 FIBA World Championship in Spain. On February 22nd, 1986, the People Power Revolution erupted and forced President Ferdinand Marcos into exile. Coelho, a known ally of Marcos, also left the country, causing the team not to participate in the World Championship. The team did participate in the 1986 Asian Games, finishing 3rd behind China and Korea in 1989. FIBA allowed professionals to play in their tournaments. This caused the BAP to have an agreement with the PBA in which the latter will form national teams for the Asian Games, while the former will do so in other tournaments. In the 1989 Southeast Asian Games, the BAP-sponsored team suffered a shock loss to Malaysia in the gold medal game, the only time the Philippines failed to win the gold medal at the Southeast Asian Games in which basketball was played. In 1990, the Philippines sent an all-pro national team, coached by Robert Jaworski, to regain the country's basketball supremacy in the Asian Games, but the team lost in the final against China and settled for a silver medal. The team includes 1990 PBA Most Valuable Player Alan Kadick and Samboy Lim, who were both selected in the Asian Games Mythical 5 selections. In the 1991 Asian Championship in Kobe, Japan, the Philippines finished 2nd in their preliminary round behind China, but the loss against Japan caused their elimination, ending up in 7th place when Jordan forfeited the game. In 1993, the Philippines failed to qualify in the quarterfinal groups, suffering losses against Korea, 5 points, and the UAE 4 points en route to an 11th place finish. In the 1994 Asian Games in Hiroshima, the Philippines, coached by the American Norman Black, sent in a team composed of PBA players and selected amateurs. The team finished 2nd in the preliminary round, losing to Korea. The loss to Korea meant that the Philippines has to face China despite losing. The Chinese had their slimmest winning margin in the tournament with 9 points, en route to their gold medal. The Philippines were upended by the host Japan in the bronze medal game, losing by 3 points in overtime. With no PBA players on the roster, the team on the 1995 Asian Championship in Seoul finished last in the preliminary round, but managed to win 2 games in the classification round to finish 12th out of 19 teams. The team that went to Riyadh for the ABC Championship in 1997 did only marginally better. They still finished last in the preliminary round but topped the classification round group en route to a 9th place finish. In 1998, the PBA formed the Philippine Centennial team coached by the American Tim Cone that captured the 21st William Jones Cup Championship but finished with the bronze medal in the 1998 Asian Games held in Bangkok. The Filipinos faced their old nemesis Korea in the quarterfinals and were blown out by 20 points, which led them to face China in the semifinals anew. The result would be the same as 4 years earlier, with the Chinese winning by 9. The Filipinos won the bronze medal game though, against Kazakhstan.
In der 1999 Asian Championship in Fukuoka, Japan,
in 1998, the PBA formed the Philippine Centennial team coached by the American Tim Cone that captured the 21st William Jones Cup Championship but finished with the bronze medal in the 1998 Asian Games held in Bangkok. The Filipinos faced their old nemesis Korea in the quarterfinals and were blown out by 20 points, which led them to face China in the semifinals anew. The result would be the same as 4 years earlier, with the Chinese winning by 9. The Filipinos won the bronze medal game though, against Kazakhstan. In the 1999 Asian Championship in Fukuoka, Japan, the Philippines, with no PBA players on their roster, finished last in the preliminary round and second in the classification round to finish 11th out of 15 teams. In Shanghai for the 2001 Asian Championship, the Philippines was suspended by FIBA due to leadership disputes at the BAP. This caused the country to miss their first Asian Championship. By 2002, a compromise was sorted out, and the Philippines was allowed to participate in the 2002 Asian Games, coached by Jang Woo-chiko. In Busan, South Korea, the Philippines easily qualified for the quarterfinals, in which they are grouped with China, Japan, and Chinese Taipei. The Philippines won by 5 points against Japan and 14 points against Chinese Taipei. The game against China wasn't as close, with the Philippines losing by 41 points. But this assured that they won't have to face China in the semifinals. For the 3rd consecutive time, the Filipinos and Koreans faced in the semifinals. With the same result, the Koreans won over the Philippines, this time by 1 point. Up by 2 points, Olsen Rosella missed 2 free throws that led to a Korean three-pointer at the buzzer to eliminate the Filipinos. The team would lose in the bronze medal game against Kazakhstan by 2 points as Korea defeated China in overtime by a basket to win Asian Games gold for the first time since 1970. With no PBA players in the roster, the 2003 Asian Championship in Harbin was the worst performance by the team in history, a 15th place finish out of 16 teams. Unlike in 1997 and 1999, the Philippines had 1 win in the preliminary round against Jordan. However, in the classification round, the Philippines emerged winless in a group containing Syria, Kuwait, and Hong Kong. Only a blowout win against Malaysia saved the Philippines from dropping to the cellar. After the championship, the AP was heavily criticized and took steps to strengthen the team. However, after a loss against the Paranak Jets, the team composed of politicians, actors, and amateurs by the bat-managed team, another leadership crisis in the BAP ensued, which caused another suspension from FIBA. As a result, the Philippines was not able to participate in the 2005 FIBA Asia Championship and the 2006 Asian Games after the conclusion of the leadership struggle that saw the Samahang Basketball and Pilipinas, SBP, an organization backed by the PBA among others, being recognized by both FIBA and the Philippine Olympic Committee. The Philippines was reinstated by FIBA. San Miguel Team Pilipinas was hastily assembled for the 2007 FIBA Asia Championship in Tokushima. The team defeated China, which didn't send its best team since they already qualified for the 2008 Olympics, but lost to Iran and Jordan to bow out of contention. The Filipinos and Chinese met again for the 9th place game, in which the Filipinos won by 2 points. The Philippines qualified for the 2009 FIBA Asia Championship in Tianjin. The Philippines advanced to the quarterfinals to meet Jordan. The Jordanians raced to an early lead where the Filipinos never recovered to win the game. The Filipinos and the Koreans played for 7th place, which saw the Koreans winning by 2 points following the Northern Cement model of the 1980. The SBP established the Smart Gilas Pilipinas program, backed by SBP President Manuel V. Pangilinan, as a developmental team that aims to qualify in the 2012 Olympics. In the 2010 Asian Games, the Filipinos met the Korean team anew in the quarterfinals and was eliminated. In the 2011 championship at Wuhan, the SBP successfully petitioned the naturalization of Marcus Galvin. The team progressed up to the semifinals for the first time since 1987. Meeting Jordan, the team lost, never recovering after a third-quarter run by the Jordanians. In the bronze medal game against Korea with the berth to an Olympic qualifying tournament at stake, the team raced to an early lead, but the Koreans cut the lead and eventually won the game after the Filipinos missed free throws at the end game. Despite missing an Olympic berth, Smart Gilas' performance was the best finish in the championship since 1987 and the best finish in any major Asian competition since 2002. After failing to qualify for the Olympics, the SBP decided to form the next edition of Smart Gilas Pilipinas team, Smart Gilas Pilipinas 2.0, composed of PBA players. The Smart Gilas Pilipinas program was renamed Gilas Pilipinas in 2013, still sponsored by Smart Communications. The national team played in the 2013 FIBA Asia Championship, which was hosted at home. After losing to Chinese Taipei in the last game of the preliminary round to finish second, the team won 4 consecutive games to set up a semifinal against the Koreans. In a close game, the Philippines pulled away late in the game to win 86-79. The win sent the team to the finals and guaranteed qualification to the FIBA Basketball World Cup, new name of the FIBA World Championship, for the first time since 1978. The Philippines appearing in the first FIBA Asia Championship finals since the introduction of the championship game. In 1987, lost by 14 points against undefeated Iran in the final to settle for a silver medal. The Congress of the Philippines naturalized Andre Blachentine for the 2014 FIBA Basketball World Cup to beef up his center position. With Blach in tow, the Philippines nearly won 4 tightly fought games against higher-ranked teams of Croatia, Greece, Argentina, and Puerto Rico, before winning in overtime against Senegal to record his first victory at the World Cup in 40 years. In the 2014 Asian Games, Blach was not able to join the squad due to residency requirements by the Olympic Council of Asia and doubt to suit up as the national team's naturalized player instead. The Philippines finished 7th, its worst finish in the Asian Games. On October 30th, 2014, the SBP announced the formation of 2 selection committees to search and appoint the coach and players of future Philippine teams for elite level and for youth level tournaments 3, 4, 5, 6. Chot Reyes remained coach until a replacement was decided 7th. The new roster aims to compete in the 2015 FIBA Asia Championship in China, which will serve as the Asian qualifiers of the 2016 Summer Olympics basketball tournament in Rio de Janeiro. On December 23, 2014, Tad Baldwin was formally announced as the new coach of the Philippine national team. 8. Baldwin's 4-year tenure as coach officially began on January 1, 2015. 9. The team captured the silver medal in the 2015 William Jones Cup but fell short of the gold medal in the 2015 FIBA Asia Championship. However, the Philippines qualified for the 2016 FIBA World Olympic qualifying tournament, but the team failed in their bid to Rio Olympics, losing to France and New Zealand. The team won gold during 2016 SEABA Cup and a qualifying slot in the 2016 FIBA Asia Challenge. However, as they were represented by the Gilas cadets with no professional or naturalized players, the team suffered its worst performance, placing 9th overall, a very huge setback due to conflicting schedule with the National League and mismanagement of the SBP. 10. In October 2016, Chot Reyes returned as head coach. In 2017, the Philippines hosted the 2017 SEABA Championship, and the team swept the competition for the gold medal and the lone spot in the subzone for the 2017 FIBA Asia Cup, 11 during the 2017 FIBA Asia Cup. The national team would sweep the group stage consisting of teams from China, Iraq, and Qatar. The team failed to advance in the quarterfinals, however, and finished the tournament in 7th place, 12. The Philippines defended their gold medal for the 12th straight time in the 2017 Southeast Asian Games, beating Indonesia in the finals, 13. FIBA introduced a qualification process, which does not involve the continental tournaments for the 2019 FIBA Basketball World Cup. The Philippines' qualification bid was marred by a brawl during the team's July 2018 tie against Australia in the first round of the Asian qualifiers, 14. The incident caused suspensions for some of the players and coaches as well as a fine for SBP 15. Chot Reyes, who served suspension due to his involvement in the brawl, was also replaced by Yang Guiao. The game and incident started a slump in the standings that almost eliminated the Philippines from the World Cup, but under Guiao they managed to qualify in the last match day by beating Kazakhstan, combined with the Lebanon loss to South Korea 16. The 2019 FIBA Basketball World Cup saw the Philippines with a 0-5 record. The country's worst performance since the 1978 edition, losing 4 of its 5 games in a blowout. This was due to lack of preparations and key players begging off from the team as well as injuries. Due to the disappointing results, the SBP sent an all-professional team for the 2019 Southeast Asia Games to re-establish its dominance. The national team swept the competition for their 18th gold medal in the tournament. 17-18, the country will co-host the 2023 FIBA Basketball World Cup with Japan and Indonesia. Thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe to Sleepless Buddy. See you next time on Sleepless History.